Hazreti Resul-i Ekrem ve Nebi-i Muhterem sallallahu teala aleyhi ve sellem Efendimiz Hazretlerinin aziz, pak, münevver, mutahhar ruh şeriflerine salavat-ı şerifi getirenlerin ahir ve akıbetleri hayrola. Âl-i ezvacı, tahiret evladı, Resul-i Eshab güzin efendilerimizin, sair enbiya-i zem ve Resul-i Fiyan hazıratın ervah şeriflerine, Pirimiz Bilal-i Habeşi radıyallahu anh Efendimizin, mihmandar-ı Resul-i Kibriya, Eyüp Sultan Halid bin Zeyd Ebu Ayyub el-Ensari radıyallahu anh, Şah Mürşidan Şeyh Hacı Muhammed Bahaddin Nakşiben el-Buhari, Mevlana Celaleddin el-Rumi, Mevlana Ziyaüddin Halid el-Bağdadi, Sahib-ü Zaman, Kıblet-i İslam, Şeyh Mevlana Muhammed Nazım Adel-Elekani, Sahib-ü Sevşi Abdülkerim el-Kıbrıs el-Rabbani Kaddesallahu esrarum hazıratın ervahı için, Hademeyül Harameynü Şerifeyn Yavuz Sultan Selim Han, Ebul Fetvel Maazi Fatih Sultan Mehmet Han ve Serdar Hakan Sultan Abdülhamid Han cennet mekan, Firdevs-i aşiyan hazıratın ervahına ve avn-ı inayetine, alel husus bu caminin banisi ve bugüne kadar içerisinden gelmiş geçmiş, İmam Müezzin Kayyum ve cemaatinin ve kahve ehli imanın ervahı için, Allah rızası için El Fatiha. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. İnnallâhe ve melâiketehu yusallûne alen nebi. Ya eyyühellezine amenü sallu aleyhi ve sellimu teslima. Allahümme salli ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala ali seyyidina Muhammed. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Hayya ale's-salâh. Hayya ale's-salâh. Hayya alel-felâh. Hayya alel-felâh. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. La ilahe illallah.
Elhamdülillah, elhamdülillah, elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Nahmedullah Teala ve nasafir ve eşhedü en la ilahe illallah vahdehu la şerike leh. Ve eşhedü enne seyyidina Muhammeden abduhu ve habibuhu ve resuluhu. Sallallahu aleyhi ve ala alihi ve ezvacihi ve sahabi tabi khulefe'r raşidin mahadin min ba'di. Zemmet ala tahkik, uzemir alameti khulefe'r rasul ala tahkik. Ömer el-Mu'minin, Hazreti Ebu Bakr, Ömer, Osman ve Ali, ve ala bakı sahabiyet tabi'in, ridwanullah ta'ala aleyhim ecma'in. Ya eyyuhel mu'minul hazirun, tekullah ta'ala, te innallâhe mellezîne, tekvellezîne hum muhsinun. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala eşrafil enbiya mursalin, seyyidina Mevlana Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecma'in. All praises are due to Allah, Lord of the universes. All praises are due to Allah, who says in the Holy Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O you who believe, if any of you becomes a traitor to his religion, then know that in his place, Allah will bring forth a people whom he loves and who love him, who are humble toward the believers, stern towards the disbelievers, fighting in the way of Allah, who do not fear the blame of the critic. Such is the favor of Allah, which He gives to whom He wills. Allah is all-encompassing, all-knowing. Your guardian can only be Allah and His messenger and those who believe, who establish worship and give zakat and bow down in ruku. And whoever takes Allah and His messenger and those who believe as a guardian, then truly the fellowship of Allah, they are the victorious. O you who believe, don't take as a guardian a wali, those who receive the scripture before you, or the disbelievers who make a jest and sport of your religion, but keep your duty to Allah, if you are true believers. Sadaqallah Azim. May all peace and blessings be upon the Sultan of the Prophets, the Imam of the Messengers, the Master of the first and the last, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. When people used to ask Hazrati Ali karamallahu wajha how to send salawats on the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught them to say, Ya Allah, the one who spread out the flat plains and created the heavens, bestow your noble prayers, your increasing blessing and the mercy of your tenderness upon Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, your servant and your messenger, the opener of what was closed, the seal of what came before, the one who announces the truth by the truth, the one who triumphs over the armies of falsehood as he was ordered to do. He took upon himself your command to obey you with speed to gain your pleasure. He guards within himself your revelation, preserves your guidance, and carries out your command so that people can receive Allah's blessings, lighting a lamp of guidance which they can bring to their families because of him. Hearts are guided by him after they had been plunged into fitna and wrong actions. He illuminated the clear signs, shining rules and guideposts of Islam. He is your trusted guardian, the treasurer of your hidden knowledge, your witness on the day of rising, the one you send with your blessings and your messenger by the truth as a mercy. Ya Allah, give him ample space in your Jannatul Adan and reward him with good multiplied many times over from your overflowing favor given to him without any trouble through the victory of gaining your reward and generous gift. Ya Allah, put what he builds above what other people build, and let him have a noble place of rest and welcome. May peace and blessings be upon his noble family and blessed companions, especially upon the four Khulafa Rashidin, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar Farooq, Hazrat Osman al-Ghani, and Hazrat Ali al-Murtaza, and all those who follow them until the last day. May peace and blessings be upon the Grand Sheikhs of the Naqshbandi order, the links in the golden chain that reaches to Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, and continue his mission. May peace and blessings be upon the Ottoman Sultans, the lions of Islam, who were humble to the believers and severe to the disbelievers, who were helpers of the Mazlum and the nightmare of the Zalims. May Allah make them to rise again. May Allah let us to serve them. May Allah humiliate those who insult them. Amen. Ya ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, today is the last Jummah of the holy month of Muharrem, the first month of 1442 Hijrah. Soon we will enter into the month of Safar. Don't run towards the areas of Allah's curse. Run towards His mercy. Run towards the ships of safety. Follow the advice of Sultan al-Awliya Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Nazim Adil Haqqani, Qaddas Sir, who said, O people, Safar is a terrible month, coming with power. Of the 12 months, it is the most terrible. Events are going to appear. This power is coming. I don't know what is coming behind it. May Allah Almighty forgive us and send us a sultan to destroy Shaitan's sultanate for the honor of the seal of Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. O believers, the verses that we read at the beginning of the khutbah, they are from the Suratul Al-Ma'idah. The Quran Kareem, it is a revelation from Allah to Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. It contains everything in it. It contains the pre-eternal, the present, and the eternal. It is the Kitab. The people who came before were in love with the Quran, and they took every word, every letter, the dot of every letter seriously. Hazrat Hassan ibn Ali radiallahu anh said, truly those before you look at the Quran as their letters from their Lord, and they would think about it at night and crave it in the day. So how seriously should we take it when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing us directly in the Quran Kareem when He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, O you who believe. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anh is telling us how seriously to take it. And we should listen to this great Sahabi, because the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, read the Quran in the same way that Abdullah ibn Masud teaches it. So Ibn Masud radiallahu anh is saying, when you hear Allah say, O you who believe, then pay attention. Because He is either commanding something good or forbidding something bad. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in these ayats? That if you turn away from Islam, you will be replaced. Replaced with who? Those that Allah loves them and they love Allah. People who are humble towards the mu'minin, but harsh and stern and powerful against the disbelievers. People who fight in Allah's way and don't fear the blame of anyone. And in these ayats, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the same type of language that He uses to describe the Sahaba at the end of Surah Al-Fatih, when He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Muhammad is Rasulullah. And those with him are stern, forceful against the disbelievers, and merciful amongst themselves. Sadaqallahu Azim. So what are the ayats of Surah Al-Ma'idah showing us? That a time will come when the people who believe, they will turn away from Allah. They will turn away from Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace them with a people who are almost identical in the way of the companions of the prophets. A people who look at the believers with mercy and humility, but they look at the zalims and the disbelievers with haybat and majesty. Now, an intelligent man will look at this indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving in the Holy Quran and ask, did this happen? But how can today's Muslims know whether or not this happened? We have become a people who are ignorant of our own history. We have become a people who are cursing at our own history. We have become a people who don't care about our history. We are people who do not even know the names of our grandfathers. How can we know about the history of our civilization, a civilization that shook the earth? We can recite the names of the presidents and prime ministers and kings and scholars of our enemies from beginning to end. We can talk about all the periods of their history, from dark ages to Renaissance to Enlightenment to modernity to postmodernity, but we don't know anything about our own religious or intellectual or spiritual tradition and history of over 1,000 years. We don't look for our honor in Islam. So we became humiliated and dishonored. As Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh said, we were a disgraceful people and Allah honored us with Islam. If we look for honor in anything other than Islam, then Allah honored us with, Allah will disgrace us. Farooq al-Azam does not speak empty. And we are seeing his words in front of us in the disgraceful state of 1.5 billion Muslims who became weak, scared, and dishonored. May Allah return the people of honor, to return the ummah to honor, inshallah. So an intelligent man will look at the ayats of Surah Al-Ma'idah and say, did such a thing happen? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replace those who called themselves believers with a new people, a people that He loved, a people that loved him, that was stern to the disbelievers, merciful to the believers, that were walking on the path of the Sahaba? And the answer to this question is yes. Who were they? Who were they? We will not say. We will take the answer from the Sultan of the Awliya, Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Nazim Adil Al-Kani, Qadasallahu Sir. And he is saying, O Lord, what can we do? What can we do now? What should we do? We are left without a master, without a sultan. May you send us a sultan soon. May you send the Ottomans, O Lord. They overpower everyone. There is a holy verse that confirms what we said. There is a holy verse that confirms what we said. A people whom he loves and they love him. Find this holy verse. I'm calling the Ottomans for this, that they loved Allah and Allah loved them. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. Our glorious Ajdad, our noble Padishahs, our majestic sultans are given the honor of being mentioned in the Holy Quran. Do you understand? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning them in His holy words that are not separate from Himself. Rasulullah alayhi wasallam is mentioning them in the hadith of Constantinople. What an honor they are. The ayat then is talking about the noble Ottomans, and yes, these Ottomans were on the way of the Sahaba. They lived for Allah, they bled for Allah, they suffered for Allah. With Osman Ghazi, they started as a small group, you can say, one village. But with a passion in his heart that burned for Islam, for Allah and for the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the tree grew from his chest that spread from east to west. And for the first 100 years of the empire, they were Ghazi sultans. Then one sultan came that his personality, his actions, his shan, it was like a Sahabi of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. It was as if a Sahabi was reborn on the earth. He fits so much to the ayats of Allah that history gave him the title of Yauz, the one who is stern, the one who is severe. And he was severe against zulm and batil and disbelief. Who? Yauz Sultan Selim Khan, Janat Mekan, the first Ottoman Sultan who took the title of Khalifa. That through Allah's blessing this year, according to the Hijri calendar, we now entered his birth date. And according to the Western calendar, we entered his Urs. And at the same time, we are coming near the Urs of the last ruling Khalifa, Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan. Nothing is a coincidence. Sultan Selim Khan, he changed the Ottomans from an empire of Ghazi sultans to become those who were dressed with the Khilafat. That the Khilafat passed through two empires led by the Arabs, the Umayyas and the Abbasis. But with Sultan Selim Khan, it passed to the Ajam. It passed to a new people that Allah loves them and they love Allah. Sahibul Saif Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Kibrisi Rabbani Qadassallahu Sir is explaining to us what Yauz Sultan Selim Khan did. And he's saying, the Ottoman Khalifa is taking over. They took the Khilafat, the Ottomans. The Seljuks, they were not Khalifas. They were under the ruling of the Khalifa, but the Ottomans also took the Khilafat with the Prophet ﷺ's order. The Prophet ﷺ ordered Yauz Sultan Selim to go to Egypt to take the Khilafat, and he came to Egypt, conquered Egypt. In Egypt at that time, the Mamluks, they tried to test, to see what the Ottomans, they are going to do. Sultan Selim was sending a message saying, I'm not like the Crusaders, and I'm not Salahuddin, and I am coming. If you don't turn the power to me, then I will not leave a single one of you living. He said, I'm coming, and I mean business. They said, it's impossible that he's going to pass the desert. Before they knew, he passed the desert. They were all shocked. So they still wanted to test. They sent some armies outside to stop the Ottomans, and Sultan Selim said, say to them, if they stand in front of us, I will not show mercy to them. They have to submit themselves. They submitted themselves. And inside Egypt, they all collapsed. Then he came to Damascus, taking over Damascus, ruling everywhere. Then the Abbasi Khalifa saw a dream that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying to him, now pass the Khilafat to Selim. And they were coming and passing all the secrets. With it, all the holy belongings of Holy Prophet ﷺ that the Khalifa has to have. And since then, they were holding it, the Khilafat and the kingdom together, the power of Islam. Nothing else. Are we understanding what he did? He crossed the Sinai desert with his army. Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody had done it before, but it was Ya'uth. He didn't care what anybody else thought. He cared what Holy Prophet thought. He was a grandson of the one who brought the ships over the mountains. And when they entered the desert, he got off his horse. Some of the soldiers didn't know what to think. And they said, why is the Sultan getting off his horse and walking when this desert is hot enough to boil the blood of the horses? And they asked one of the viziers to find out what was happening. So the vizier, Hassan Jan, went to the Sultan Selim and he said, asking him why he dismounted. And Sultan Selim Khan said, oh Hassan, don't you see? Rasulullah ﷺ is walking in front of us. How can we stay on our horses when the Sultan of the world is walking? Allah loved him and he loved Allah. So he took the Khilafat. That for hundreds of years before this, the Khilafat was just a symbol. Other dynasties, other families, they were ruling the world of Islam politically. But they kept the Abbasi Khalifa with them as a symbol of the legitimacy of their dynasty. The Khalifa was not ruling. They took all power from him. They claimed to be ruling the state on behalf of the Khalifa, but in reality the Khalifa did not have any power. With Ya'uth Sultan Selim Khan, the Khilafat was returned to the way it was in the time of the Sahabi. The Khalifa was the Amirul Mu'mineen, the prince of the believers. The Khalifa had power. The Khalifa ruled. The Khalifa once again became a shield. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, the Khalifa is a shield from behind whom you fight and by whom you are protected. They were Ghazi sultans. Sultan Selim was a Ghazi sultan. He spent his life on the horse, fighting in the way of Allah, and he was that kind of Khalifa who fought and protected, fierce to the disbelievers and humble to the believers. He had no toleration for deviation or for those who tried to change Islam. That is why when his grandfathers had all turned their horses to the west, he turned his horse to the east, to Persia. He went to break the backs of those who cursed at Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar. He went to break the backs of those who make Mawlid for the one who murdered Hazrat Umar. He went to break the backs of those who insult our mothers, Hazrat Aisha and Hazrat Hafsa. He went to break the backs of the Safavids, the Turkish Shia empire that had sprung up in Persia, that were allies to the enemies of the West. In the Battle of Chaldiran, he broke their backs. Listen to what he wrote to Shah Ismail. Listen to the words of Ya'uth Sultan Selim, and you can hear the echoes of the Sahaba, Hazrat Umar, in his words. He told Shah Ismail that if he did not surrender and submit, this is what Sultan Selim would do. With the support and assistance of Allah, I will crown the head of every gallows tree with the head of a Qizilbash and clear that deviation from the face of the earth. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The fellowship of Allah, they are the victors. From Surah Al-Ma'idah. I will break the grip of the tyrants with the power of the miraculous white hand of Moses. Because Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allah's hand is over their hands. Let them remove the cotton of ghaflat from the ears of their intelligence, and with their shrouds on their shoulders prepare themselves for Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Surely that which you are promised will come to pass. Our victorious, who are an unbreakable solid wall, crying out, when their turn comes, they shall not put it back a single hour, nor put it forward, and maneuvering in accordance with, fight them wherever you find them, will wreak havoc and ruin upon you and drive you from that land. To Allah belongs the command before and after, and on that day the believers shall rejoice. So the last roots of the people who did evil were cut off. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Sadaqallah al-Azim. Stern to the disbelievers, humble to the believers, loved by Allah and loving Allah. This is Sultan Selim Khan. His whole world, all his words, they are the words of Allah. Because he is the one that Allah talks about in the Quran. And he is the one that was always looking after that Kizil Ilma that his grandfathers had talked about. The red apple. That if it was not for the betrayal of some traitors in Islam, the seat of the papacy, Rome, would be in his hands. That is the hero of Islam. We should teach our children about him. We should teach our children to want to be more like him. We should pray for another lion like him to come to bring this world out from the mess that it is in. His son was Kanuni, Sultan Suleiman, the one that even the West is calling Suleiman the Magnificent. In Islam, he is known as Sultan Suleiman, the one who gave the laws. But the West was only concerned with what he was wearing. So they call him Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. Sultan Selim only ruled for 8 years. His son Sultan Suleiman ruled for 46 years. And it was the struggle and effort of Sultan Selim that gave birth to the law and the flowering of the empire that took place under Sultan Suleiman. During the reign of Sultan Suleiman, the foundations that had been poured by Sultan Selim became firm and strong and could be built upon. And Sultan Suleiman built the great domes and minarets of the empire that spread justice and peace to the four corners of the earth. Understand how important that transition was from the Ghazi Sultanate to the Khilafat. Understand how much struggle had to happen. Understand that the Shan and the majesty of that Ottoman Empire was born out of that struggle and out of those great men who dedicated their lives to struggling for Allah. We all owe them a debt. The whole world owes them a debt. We have Islam because of them. We can call ourselves Muslims because of them. We can call ourselves Ahl Sunnat because of them. They changed the world. As the Mahtar is calling out to us, this history is the history of Fatih, the history of Selim, the history of Suleiman. This mihrab is of Sinanuddin. This minaret is of Sinan. The meaning is, those great men, those lions, they did their job. They showed their shan. They changed history. Then the Mehtaran are saying, Heidi, let's go. Wake up your sleeping legend. O Muslims, Mu'mins, Murids, Your destan is sleeping. Wake it up. The history of Islam is not complete. Definitely people are going to come who are going to finish writing the history that Sultan Selim and Sultan Sulaiman started writing. Definitely there are people alive now that Allah loves them and they love Allah. They are humble to the believers and stern to the disbelievers. They struggle in the way of Allah and don't fear the blame of the blamer. Find them and be with them, because they are the ones who take only Allah and Rasulullah and the believers as their wali. And they are the fellowship of Allah. And they are victorious. May Allah make us to be with those ones. May Allah never let us abandon those ones. May Allah keep us in that fellowship. We are at the end of Muharrem. And after Safar will come the month of Rabiul Awal, the month of the Mawlid. Let us take some of the perfume of that month through the writing of Yawuz Sultan Selim Khan himself, who showed his ashq to that Holy Prophet ﷺ, whom he served throughout his life, whom he called the slave of that Prophet. He is writing, saying, O you, whose face is the light of the awliya's eyes, help me, Madad, O treasure of the light of Allah. The dust of your feet is the kul of Allah's chosen ones. Help me, O treasure of the light of Allah. None can reach to Haqq without you. A man is accepted only with your face and your lutuf. Ya Rasul, you are the mercy to the universes. Madad, help me, O treasure of the light of Allah. I've done crimes and sins without a limit. I became friends with the one who follows egoistic desires. Ya Karim, make shafa'at for my sins. Madad, O treasure of the light of Allah. O source of goodness. Ay Rasul al-Kibriya. Here is Selim, your slave, filled with mistakes. Let my plea be accepted in your dergah. Madad, O treasure of the light of Allah. May Allah accept us and give us shafaat. For the sake of that Yawuz Sultan, may Allah raise his stations. May Allah let us be with those who are inheriting from his way. May Allah let us to be with those who will once again bring justice to the earth. May Allah let us to be with the Ottomans. May Allah let us be with our Shaykh. Amin. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد كل شيء قدير لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له لا إله إلا الله وحده لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا الظالمين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك سبحانك قدوس ربنا رب العالمين إن ديننا الإسلام قام الصلاة آمين.